Thanks, Jeff. Well, coming up next month, the Louisiana State Museum is opening up an exhibit titled Katrina and Beyond, Living with Hurricanes. And we have the lead historian on this project, Karen Leatham, here to tell us about it. And you've brought some actual pieces from the exhibit with you. Can you explain these to me?
I'll tell you about these. This, believe it or not, an ordinary object, was really hard to find. We searched for months for an axe. We wanted an axe that someone had used to chop their way out of their attic. And we finally did find one, and it's a remarkable story. The woman who bought it, she bought it the day before the storm. And she grew up in Delacroix in St. Bernard Parish, was living in the community of Miro. And she was preparing for the storm, getting all her water, food, that sort of thing, and thought, well, I've always heard that you're supposed to have an axe in the attic. And so she went out and got one, and she and her teenage daughter had to use it to get out, and they stayed on their roof for 3 days before they were rescued.
But at least they had that axe.
They did, they did. It was a real lifesaver.
And you brought, this looks like an instrument of some kind.
It's an instrument. Because it's South Louisiana and the Gulf Coast, there's a lot of musical history, and we have a number of instruments that were ruined in the storm that we will be displaying, including Fats Domino's piano, found upended, and that's the way we're displaying it. This is a ruby-encrusted clarinet that belonged to Pete Fountain. And his house was in Bay St. Louis, and as I'm sure many of your listeners in Cameron can identify with, everything he had was just washed away. This was found 1.5 miles from his house, and because it has his name on it, Pete Fountain, it was found in the case and was returned to him. And so it's not playable anymore, so the family has loaned it to us for this exhibition. But it represents all of the many things that people lost in the storm or were ruined in the storm, you know, throughout the Louisiana's Gulf Coast.
Yeah, and you also have, you were telling me just a little while ago, some Rita footage, and that's great because I know people down here are going to appreciate that you're displaying other things besides Katrina. Yeah,
well, Rita is a very important story of the storms of 2005. The two storms combined put such a strain on the state, and we will have a video on Rita, and we're in fact using footage from KPLC.
Which is great.
So we were very excited to get that. And we want to tell the whole story of what happened during those storms. And we also want to look ahead to the future, better ways of rebuilding, and the way that all the communities on the coast have reinvented themselves after the storm.
Yeah, and I'm sure that that footage is already so, it's just, you look at it and you just remember immediately what happens, but when you look at these artifacts, you remember the stories.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's wonderful to do that. Thank you so much for coming in today, Karen.
Thank you for having us.
And if you'd like to learn more about the museum, there's a link posted at kplctv.com. You can just look for the links page. Well, just like the exhibit, 7 News is taking a look back at Hurricane Rita as we observe its 5-year anniversary this week. Our special airs tomorrow at 6 right here on KPLC.